As the college football season winds down, the NFL draft season draws near, and Cade Klubnik is one of the players that need to go to the Senior Bowl.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network, in 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, we're getting closer and closer to the draft season, which means we're getting closer and closer to the Senior Bowl. We're going to talk about offensive and defensive prospects that need to go to the Senior Bowl to help their draft stocks. Then we're going to close this thing out with perfect prospect pairing. Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. Which teams are the best fits for him? We'll break that down later on in the show. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Keith, man, Senior Bowl creeping up on this, man. And I think for me, Keith, when I think about guys that need to go to the Senior Bowl, I would like to see go to the Senior Bowl. This guy we've talked about a decent amount, Cade Klubnik. I think the way he's playing right now, I feel like he's finding himself. He's finding his rhythm. He's anticipating throws, throwing lanes better. He's playing under more control, and he's playing more calm. And I just feel like, for example, do you believe that Jackson Dart would have been a first-round pick had he not gone to the Senior Bowl last year?
No, I don't believe so, DP. I think if we look back on it, right, I think that's when he started building momentum. I think everybody thought that he was a top 100 pick, right? But I think the first-round conversation came after the Senior Bowl, and you've seen his name really start to blow up.
Yeah, and that's why I think for me it's the same exact thing in terms of Cade Klubnik. I think Cade goes out there, shows off his arm talent, shows that he can layer the football. And what do we always say, right? Pulling guys away from their programs to where it's just you, the player. That's why I love this Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, because it allows the players to just be the players. We're not worried about win-loss records or what defense you facing next. No, you got to worry about that. Like, you're just at practice, getting better every day, improving yourself. And I think Cade Klubnik being able to go to the Senior Bowl, let's say he keeps this run going, Keith, where he's efficient, he's playing well, he's accurate with the football, making the right decisions, and he just finishes the season off on a heater, just playing good ball. Then you go to Mobile and do the same thing, and now you answer some of the questions of, or matter of fact, not answer the question, but you flip the question around and say, well, was it Dabo? Was it Clemson that was the problem? Because if it was and it's not Cade, maybe you do find yourself back in the first round conversation, especially in the quarterback class that needs those type of guys.
Yeah, I agree. Well, first of all, I'm glad you went with Cade because I was going to mention him also, right? But secondly, you're right 100%. You want the narrative in the conversation to start to shift. And I think it was Cade we were talking about when I was saying that, just kind of get to a bowl game, right? Because you need all of the games that you can possibly have. I can't remember if it was Cade or if it was another quarterback. But even to further extend it, right? Getting into, it was Clemson because we was trying to see if they'll be able to be bowl eligible. So we was definitely talking about Cade Klubnik. So past even the bowl game as a data point, the Senior Bowl can be a very important data point for him, right? And like you said, and maybe you get to start the conversation of, okay, was it the wide receivers that wasn't that good, right? Like you can start to ask different conversations overall. DP, keeping with the quarterback theme, and I think we should, just kind of live in this space, right? Has to be Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, we don't know if you're going to even finish the season out as a starter, right? There's been so many reports of, I think, Michael Van Buren is the backup quarterback for LSU, and then Frank Wilson, the head coach, right? He came out and said himself that both guys are going to play. Not sure what that means, right? Both guys are going to play. Who's going to start? How many plays are both guys going to receive? Is this going to be a short leash situation? You don't know, DP, if you come out in this game when they play Arkansas, I believe. I think it's Arkansas. They come out against Arkansas, right? This upcoming weekend, and let's say the offense just starts slow, right? and then
Mhm.
in Arkansas's offense is humming, and you quickly find yourself in maybe a 14-3 game, right? In the middle of the second quarter. Does the head coach decide to pull Garrett Nussmeier then, right? And play Michael Van Buren? There's so many different outcomes for Garrett Nussmeier to finish this season off, and it's unfortunate he's in the same exact boat Cade Klubnik is in. There's no more eligibility, so you have to get more data points. And I think a data point is seeing his arm live, right? People standing on the sideline seeing his arm live, but also seeing who the young man is, like as a competitor, right? Like just trying
Mhm.
that vibe for him too, because we know that one, he's not going to test off the charts, right? Like he's not a 4.4, 4.5 athlete. But then
Yeah.
also, we know that from a size standpoint, he probably fits under the threshold for what most people want in a quote unquote franchise quarterback. So it's going to have to be the tangibles and arm talent that's going to have to win for him at the end of the day and in this conversation.
And yeah, kid, I think he's the guy I feel like has so much to gain by going to the Senior Bowl. Because
Yeah.
again, just like Cade, they're flipping, like you said, flipping the narratives and stuff. And there's been a lot of rumors swirling around that he's not healthy. He hasn't been healthy. Remember the preseason during fall camp, they see he had they just called it a core injury or whatever. They didn't specify what it was. They said it was a core injury. There were a lot of reports. There were conflicting reports. Some people
Well,
were saying it's worse than what they were making it out to be. Then the school was like, no, he's fine. He's gonna play all season, stuff like that. And I'll say this, Keith. I went back and I looked at some of his throws from 2024. I think there's some validity there. And the reason why I say that, and it might to me to go back to the arm talent situation. Remember at Clemson, I was like, man, I thought his arm was stronger than this. Keith, I'm watching him throw this year compared to last year. Last year,
uh-huh.
he's given full torque of the core. Everything's engaged. This year, no, it's not the same throwing mechanics. So I'm like, is he hurt? Is he still hampered? And it was like, okay, if he is, maybe you get a couple more weeks off after the season, right after the bowl game, before the Senior Bowl at the end of the month, and you are closer to 100%. And then you're able to play the game that we saw last year because he was much more aggressive. The ball came out with more pop. It flew off his hand more. And then I watched him in Clemson myself in person. I was like, what? This is not the guy I watched in 2024.
Yeah.
And
And I
this real. Hey.
Yeah, and I had just seen him for the Manning Passing Academy, right? Remember,
Mhm.
because I came on the podcast and I talked about it. Do you said something important and you talked about injury. I forgot about the core injury, but do you remember the conversation around his knee? Remember Brian Kelly
Oh,
came out
yeah.
and it was the chronic knee situation, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want to report that, right? So
Yeah.
everybody go get the information for yourself.
Yeah.
But I know
Go
that
do,
there
yeah.
was a conversation about a knee too, and this just furthers the point of why he needs to go to the Senior Bowl, because I think he needs to show people that he's healthy, right?
Yeah.
I'm healthy, I can move around, things like that. And when you said injury, I forgot about the torque thing, right? Like the torso. I thought about the knee injury, and I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
that can be a big deal, because now you have to dispel whatever the conversation that Brian Kelly was talking about, right? Like that he decided to just let that information out the bag. So
Sure.
there's a lot there, especially for Nussmeier.
Yeah, Keith, and one other guy. We talked about quarterbacks between Cade and Nussmeier. Your boy Zachariah Branch out
Yeah,
of Georgia, man. I think him going to the Senior Bowl will be so beneficial. Remember, man, we haven't seen one receiver dominate the Senior Bowl like Tank Dell did a couple years ago,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And for those, he was outlier for size and everything like that, and he's gotten hurt twice and all that. But go back to that rookie year before he got injured, right? Like he hit the ground running, him and CJ Stroud. So everything we saw at the Senior Bowl, Keith, and those one-on-ones, guess what? The
Real.
NFL DBs couldn't handle them either. Like he was working those guys too. So I think for Zachariah Branch, I have a day 2 grade on him right now because he is a smaller guy, like limited catch rates and stuff like that. But he's arguable. I think we talked about Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State. That's another guy that should go. I mean, Zachariah Branch is probably gonna hit that low 4.4, 4.3s type of speed. Like he's one of the most dynamic players in college football right now. And I think him going to the Senior Bowl, getting in those one-on-ones, let's see if he have that same type of impact where guys are like, yeah, I don't feel like dealing with this dude all day. Like, you know what I mean? We were there. We heard the cornerbacks talk the next morning after the very first practice of, Yeah, what do we hear, Keith? Guys were like talking. I remember talking to a couple of DBs. They were like, yeah, after the first couple of reps of Tank Dell, guys were kind of they were weary to walk back to the line of scrimmage and be like, yeah, I'm going to defend this guy, right? Like there were some dudes who dropped their stock by trying to cover Tank Dell at the Senior Bowl that year.
Yeah, no, 100%. And when you think about Zachariah Branch, and I think you used this before, right? You think about Zay Flowers, and how he was able to immediately step in and have an impact, right? Just with the Baltimore Ravens. And I think for me, you talk about Zachariah Branch and fringe first rounder, right? Somewhere around there. But I think the conversation is just kind of want to see more. And for whatever reason, Georgia just doesn't feature their offensive prospects, right? Like it just doesn't happen. We don't know why that happens, but I want to go back to that draft class too, DP, because you look at it, I mean, and it's rounding out to be kind of what we thought it was, right? Jordan Addison has proven that he's a pretty good football player. Quentin Johnston is turning it on to where maybe he's not a top 10 wide receiver, but he's probably inside of the top 20, 25, right? Jackson Smith and Jigba is making the case to be a top wide receiver, and Zay Flowers. So I know people told us that wide receiver class wasn't good, and we was trying to tell y'all that. I disagree, right? Some people said no wide receivers should go in the first round. So we'll see. But DP, let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. Up next, we're going to switch sides of the football and talk about defensive prospects for the Senior Bowl. Which guys we think maybe had a lackluster regular season, and they need the draft season to get themselves going, especially the Senior Bowl. We want to see more. We'll talk about those guys coming up next.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Do you need parts fast for a project? Well, Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it already, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds, less than a minute to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and in Georgia. I've been using PrizePicks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. It keeps every game exciting. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Defensive prospects that we need and want to see at the Senior Bowl that can help their 2026 NFL draft stocks. You got to go to the big fish right here in my neck of the woods. Peter Woods. No pun intended. Peter Woods. I think Keith, and I think I mentioned this before, I think he's going to be this year's Walter Nolan in terms of stripping him away from a defensive scheme that did not complement him the best. Yep. Peter Woods is still an outstanding run defender. He's handling double teams. He's splitting the Red Sea. He's getting in the backfield, creating surge and penetration, all of that stuff. But he's still not playing his actual position. Remember last year, we went to this Senior Bowl. Walter Nolan got out there and said, yeah, guys, I'm a 3. I'm a 3 tech. Yep. You know, I'm not a 2. I'm not a 1. I'm not a 0. I'm a 3 tech. And it was like, well, anybody that watched you knows that if you put him in as a single gap responsible defensive lineman, well, that's how you get the best out of him. And I think his first game was 2 weeks ago against Dallas.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. What's that? Yeah, that was Monday Night
Yeah,
Football,
Monday
and
night.
he had a heck of a showing, and you couldn't even tell that was his first NFL game.
First
And
game.
just because they haven't paid attention to the Cardinals up until this point in depth, right? Like, kind of seen them in passing, I didn't even realize that was Walter Nolan's first game. And you couldn't tell from watching the game, right? It didn't look like he had any jitters. My guy was full engine, ready to rock and roll.
Ready to go. And he was so impactful in that game. And it's like, yeah, you go back to his tape at Ole Miss, and he was at 0, he was at 1, he was at shade and 2-eye. It was just like, yeah, and it's just, hey, go be a bull in the China shop. Just slant, destroy the center, and let other guys eat off of you. And for Peter Woods, I think, and same thing with Walter Nolan. Like, when I did see him leaving, at Ole Miss last year, when he did get the one-on-ones, he didn't have a plan to rush the passer because he didn't get those opportunities that often. And I think it's the same thing for Peter Woods. The floor is high because he's going to be a really good run defender. But the ceiling is high because, hey, we put you in the right spot, the position that you play best, and let you develop there, right? Like, it's going to help him a lot. I want to see him in Mobile, Keith. I mean, he's probably still projected to be a top 10 pick, so he might not come, but he might not go to the Senior Bowl. I want him to go because I think him going out there, getting the one-on-ones, same thing we saw from Peter Woods. I think Peter Woods is a little bit more athletic, a little twitchier than him, of course, but still getting a chance to go one-on-one, win those one-on-ones, whether it was power, hand usage, quickness, whatever it was, you go out there and dominate. You change that, again, changing that narrative to where it's like, oh, I thought he was not playing well. It's like, no, I just wasn't in the right position.
I'm gonna go with this, DP. In prepping for this show, we must have been kind of in the same thought spaces, right? Because I'm going with Peter Woods' teammate, TJ Parker, and he needs to go to Senior Bowl. Up until this point, DP, statistically, I believe he has 2 sacks on the season. His last sack was in September, DP. We are on our way to December, so it's been a while, right? And so. And this is more of also a personal evaluation, right? I think when we spoke of the quarterbacks and Peter Woods, it's more so like, hey, like, just go ahead, showcase, your elite talent and what you can do, right? With TJ is like, I need to know who you are, right? Like, and is the first step quickness? Is it good enough, right? Or are you versatile? Are you a fluid hips? Can you turn and really flip those hips at the top of the arc? Do you have the closing speed? What the motor looks like? There's so much, because I'll be honest with you, as he's, slated in people's first round, right? But I think based off evaluation, if you strip the preseason notion, he can go anywhere from, like you said, the back end of the first round to 3rd, 4th round, right? And it's because of the evaluation to be all over the place, because there are some very highlight type things to where you're like, man, I really like this guy. And then there are some concerns. So I think he needs to kind of go and clean and clear those things up.
Yeah, 100%. I think, number one, I think body profile is going to be a big thing from arm length, stuff like that. Like, because just like Peter Woods, he's a really good run defender, setting the edge and everything. And his calling card as a pass rusher was technique. You know what I mean? He high motor technique guy that had great power. Now, okay, let's get you in these one-on-ones and let's see what you can do when there's, hey, your job is not to run defend first. You get to pin your ears back. You get that, just you and that offensive tackle, right? Like, what does that look like? Do you flash the counters? Do you have that spin move inside? Do you know how to set the guy up inside, get him a Euro step with the cross chop? Like, what do you have in the bag completely to be able to win quickly? I would like to see see him, TJ Parker at the Senior Bowl as well, Keith. I'm gonna go to not a small school. They didn't win last week, so it was tough for them. But BYU's linebacker Isaiah Glasker, guy is a former wide receiver turned linebacker. He's athletic, and I think for him, just because, again, I mean, everything, like you always say, everything is in this industry, it's all narrative, right? And when you see, you know how it is, Keith. We all sitting out there waiting for guys to walk on the field, stuff like that. And then you see 6'5", 240 pounds, long arm linebacker just out there, just walking around, getting ready for practice. And this is a guy he can move. Again, former wide receiver. He covers well. He plays the run well. You can blitz him. and everything like that. And I feel like this is just one of those kind of hybrid guys where you can see him lined up stack backer. You might see him rush off the edge, play overhanging blitz. I would love to see him out there. And I think a big thing for him would be kind of like the one-on-ones with the running backs, which typically the running backs win those. But, see how he handles that situation, get some one-on-ones with some tight ends. Like, can we put you with your height and athleticism, can we put you in some man-to-man situations against some of these type of guys, and you're functional doing so? So I would like to see an Isaiah Glasker out there, because, again, I think he's not a forgotten man. People just don't know about him because this linebacker class is so good. We're going to talk about Sonny Styles in just a little bit, right? Arvell Reese, who's a linebacker / edge. Deontay Lawson, C.J. Allen from Georgia. Anthony Hill, for those who view him as a linebacker from Texas. Like, this is a loaded linebacker group.
Weeks. You got a lot of them.
Whit Weeks. Like, it's a ton of dudes in this linebacker class. And it's like, hey, Glasker, you go to the Senior Bowl, you shine, you get to move yourself up some of these ranks.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. This is one of my favorite segments coming up, right? Where we pick the prospect, right? We pick a 2026 NFL draft prospect, and we pick the NFL team, and we tell you why this is a perfect pairing, right? Why this needs to happen, and we're going to do that coming up next.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, it can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work, family, and everything else. This season, it's so important to reach out and check in with family, friends, or even yourself. Just like checking on a teammate or reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a while can lift your spirits, reaching out for therapy can make a real difference too. BetterHelp makes that first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take the first step. Listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOn. Because taking that step forward towards support might just leave you wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. And thank you for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, who are now the #1 sports podcast network in America. And that's because of you guys. Perfect prospect pairing, Keith. And there's a little twist on it than how we normally do it. Pick the prospect. I text you. I say, hey, let's talk Sonny Styles. Let's find the perfect fit and perfect pairing for him. Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State, 6'5", 240. He was the guy we were talking about coming out of the summer. And then Arvell Reese just took the spotlight and said, I'm here too, right? And so, I feel like people started to forget about Sonny Styles because of the climb of Arvell Reese. Keith, when you think about perfect prospect pairing, what NFL team right now do you think he would make the biggest impact on? What would be the perfect pairing for Sonny Styles?
Man, I really want to go with – I'm going to go with Minnesota. I like him there, and because Minnesota needs a linebacker, right? And I think of the days with Anthony Barr, right? Remember the linebacker, strong side linebacker from UCLA, I believe that's where he came out of. But I think of that, right? A guy that can, play that kind of strong side linebacker, can line up on the line of scrimmage, play the run well, athletic. I think he's more athletic than what Anthony Barr is, I believe. And just do a bunch of different things. They drafted the young edge rusher from Alabama. I don't know why his name is slipping me. Right.
Dallas Turner.
Dallas Turner. Yeah, I don't know why they were slipping my name. And because the thing is that I believe that Sonny Styles has the pass rush upside too. And I compared him, and I'll say it again. I think he's very similar to Jahad Campbell from last year. And I think outside of the injury, Jahad Campbell would have probably been a top 20 pick, right? Somewhere in there, because he's a guy with a lot of momentum. But I think he tore his shoulder, might have been a labrum or something. Yeah. And I think it even prevented him from running maybe in the combine.
I think so, yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly. So I think if he was able to do the athletic testing and all of those things, played out, I think he would have went a lot higher. I like Sonny Styles a lot. I think the conversation is a lot closer with him and Arvell Reese than what
Yeah,
people are giving it credit for. And I like Arvell Reese a lot too. What I'm saying is that I don't think Arvell Reese is lesser. I think Sonny Styles is more than what people
yeah,
are giving him credit for.
yeah, for
And
sure.
honestly, I think the Minnesota Vikings are picking at 14 right now. Like
Mhm.
my push to chips in the middle of the table statement is that Ohio State could have both linebackers go in the top 10. I think those young men are that talented and that versatile. But yeah, Sonny Styles with the Minnesota Vikings could be a fun matchup, and I think it fits. It's what they need.
Especially if they still have Brian Flores calling the calling the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would be all for that, Keith. I'm gonna go to the NFC East. Number 8th right now in the 2026 draft order, the Washington Commanders. I think
Mhm.
putting him in that defense would be a lot of fun for Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn getting a guy 6'4", 240. And remember, for those who don't know, this is a converted safety playing linebacker, right? Like
Yeah.
he converted a couple seasons ago. So you talking about safety athleticism in a linebacker body and frame with the long arms, long legs. He's well built for the run game as well. And he's an outstanding cover. I'm about to call it cover corner. He might be able to play some corner. Who knows, right? Like Jesus Christ. But he's an outstanding cover linebacker. So, like you talk about having that third down value, you either have it going forward or backwards because
Right.
he could, maybe rush the passer, or if you have good edge rushers and you don't need him for that, you can mug the A gap and blitz him off
Mhm.
the A gap, give you that simulated pressure look. Where I mean, heck, now I'm making the case for Brian Flores again, because Brian Flores does a lot of that stuff where you see the simulated pressure and the quarterback doesn't know which one of these guys are going to actually engage the line of scrimmage, and then one of them drops off. And as much as I love Sonny Styles working down, like, you know what, that'd be the guy to drop off because he's athletic enough to get that depth really quickly and just take away those in breaking routes to cross or stuff like that. But I honestly feel like too, Keith, Sonny Styles to me is the good version of Isaiah Simmons. This is
No,
what Isaiah Simmons should look like if he played linebacker full time.
without a doubt, and to that, because I've been critical of that evaluation in the past. The part, unfortunately, that I think Sonny Styles is what everybody thought Isaiah Simmons was, but
Absolutely.
the issue is that they skipped over the true playing linebacker part, right? The
Mm-hmm.
fact, like, you got to read and diagnose. I think it was our guy Jordan Reed tweeted out a clip. Was it last week or might have been early this week or
I
last
think,
week,
yeah, early
and it
this
was
week.
him taking on an offensive tackle. Like, yeah, that's playing linebacker, right? Like, just
Mm-hmm.
running around and just running around and run around. It doesn't help much, right? But
No.
Sonny Styles is good in the box, right? He key in diagnosis. He flows downhill. He strikes people. He strikes offensive linemen. You talk about gap integrity. Like, he has all of those things. So I think that's fun. I'm gonna pick one more team, DP, outside of,
Yeah.
like, let's say if there's a fall, right? The other
Mm-hmm.
team that I like them with would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You think about a
Love it.
Levante David getting older, right? Then you talk about another
Mm-hmm.
defensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, where he's the
Todd
head coach,
Bowles.
but defensive background. I think he can do a lot of unique things. And in my opinion, Todd Bowles values linebacker play a lot, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and usually the Bucks have pretty good linebacker play, but I think you get a year, and I always talk about this, right? Given the young guys 1 year with a extremely good veteran, right? You give him 1 year with Levante David, and I think it could be lights out. So that's the other team, like, outside the
I
20,
like
if there
that.
was some type of fall, I would look at.
Man, I like that a lot. Being able to learn from Levante David. I don't know if you might not remember the guy probably my first season with the Draft Network, and I talked about the Pitt linebacker Savasi
Yeah,
Dennis.
I do.
He's
Yep.
I liked him at Pitt, and he's been playing good ball for them alongside Levante David. So then you talking about a potential young duo to take the reins after Levante David you go to like 4-3 even front defensive front. You got all three of those linebackers at the second level to where now you can make the plays. And a guy like Sonny Styles can help you against a guy like Bijan. You know what I
No,
mean? Like that
100%.
guy that could just track him like Bijan and handle the Rico Dowdles in Carolina with that run game.
He's the perfect spy linebacker too, right?
Yes.
If you wanted to just mug them, and then sometimes defensive coordinators that have those linebackers just kind of float at the line of scrimmage, right, where they're not necessarily rushing, but they're just kind of
Yeah.
close to the line of scrimmage, and it's almost it's almost disguised a QB spy, right? Because the quarterback may think, oh, this guy's so close to the line of scrimmage, he's rushing, but actually it's just eyes on you the whole time, right? So I really like that. And I like that. I think Sonny Styles can do that.
100%. I want to go circle back to the Washington. I want to make sure I tell the Washington fans why I believe he should be their pick.
Yeah, good.
You got Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is, I mean, he was drafted. He's 35, man. Like Bobby Wagner was born a year after me. So I didn't realize I was older than Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is 35 years old, man. Like I can't expect Bobby. He's playing good football still. I don't expect him to be 37, 38 years old, still playing for the Commanders. You have him, you have Frankie Louvu. You got to get, to me, a face of that defensive front. And I think Sonny Styles and his ability to cover, like we talk about blitz, rush the passer, all the different things he brings. He's not just because I think that when we go back to his Isaiah Simmons thing, because Isaiah didn't play linebacker enough, he didn't meet the physicality aspect of playing linebacker. And
that was huge. Yep.
And that was big. So you look at Sonny Styles and you talk about being able to actually attack and meet those pulling linemen, whether it's a guard, a tackle in the hole. You know, hey, punish the puller is the phrase we like to use. Mm-hmm. He'll do that. He'll hit the A and B gaps and run through different things like that. This is a guy that could absolutely be a game changer. And again, we love Arvell Reese, but like you said, Keith, it felt like for a while, as Arvell Reese continued to climb, like I saw a top 50 big board on Twitter, and I saw Arvell Reese at number 1. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I get it, right? Like I get being aggressive. I think we need to calm down a little bit. I get being aggressive. I had somebody telling me like, yeah, he's going top 3, and I'm like, I don't know about that because there's teams that need quarterbacks in the top 5, man. I don't know, and I still honestly I don't know if I wouldn't put Arvell over Ruben Bain right now. I think it's crazy how Ruben Bain started the season and he's still been playing well, and now he's almost a forgotten man because of the Arvell Reese is just pushing everybody draft stock down at this point,
right?
But Sonny Styles, it's that dude, man.
No, it's funny, man, because it's not even, and that's why I wanted to make the point of it's not about Arvell Reese pushing Sonny Styles down. It's about Sonny Styles elevating himself, right? That he's in that bracket. And it's just funny because it's like, yeah, both can be true, right? Arvell Reese can be really good, but so can this guy, right? Like so can Ruben Bain, and so can Sonny Styles and a couple other draft prospects. But there's no problem with sharing the wealth, right? And we don't mind
no problem at all.
Yeah, no, we don't mind doing it over here at Locked On NFL Draft. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, it's going to be Happy Friday, which means we got to break down and preview the action for Week 12 of college football for the 2026 NFL Draft, and why a guy named Arch Manning has a big-time spotlight game against the Georgia Bulldogs. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show, so come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.